Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is now spooky season and this is my time of year to shine with book recommendations. I have an extremely stacked TBR and I'm like, you know what, let's make a video because my whole channel involves reading and like I said, this is my time of year to shine and give recs, so that's what you're here for and that's what you shall receive. So let's get into today's video. We got these super cute ghost pillows from HomeGoods. I'm obsessed. It's so hot. I am in New York right now and it has never been 80 degrees this late in September. Like this whole week and next week is like 80 degrees. I'm not used to it. It feels like freaking Florida right now and it's not giving the fall vibes I need. I'm gonna start off with my fall TBR because I am just so excited. I have been in a major book slump lately, but I'm getting out of that now that it's fall and I have time to read. Starting off strong, we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Okay, all I know about this book is that it's about werewolves and there's like an omega and alpha complex in this book, and some people hate this book. A lot of people, you either love or you hate this book, and I think that I will love this book just because I recently found out that Ali Hazelwood was originally a fan fiction author, and I love my fan fiction authors. Some of them I think are better than published authors, and I've read like the best fanfics of my life that are better than books I've read. I am very intrigued to see if I am going to be a Ali Hazelwood fan or not, but I think I will be, especially since I've sort of dabbled in the omega alpha kind of world a little bit. Not really, but I have. So I think I know what people mean when they refer to this relationship. I don't know, but it screams fall and I'm here for it and I'm very excited. Okay, I really want to try the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I've heard really good things about this book, but I have heard that the series goes down from after book one. Yeah, I love my vampire romantasy. I am a Twilight girly, love Twilight through and through. And I've heard that this book is spicy too, so I think it's like an adult romantasy. And I'm all here for it. I'm a little confused about the reading order, and I think there's like 2 separate series. I don't know. If you guys have read that series, let me know in the comments down below how to read it and what you guys think about it. Okay, I also want to read Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. If you guys haven't heard, it's like this year's romantasy. I've heard a lot of people rave about the male main character, and I love an adult romantasy. You're gonna hear me say that a lot in this video. I've heard it gives like ACOTAR vibes and it's about the Fae, and I want to try it and see if it's for me or not. So another series that I want to read, and I want to do a whole reading vlog on the series because I am a Potterhead through and through, and I want to do a reading vlog on this series. And just from me saying Potterhead, you probably infer that it's the Harry Potter series. If someone were to offer me the chance to leave my everyday life and be a part of the Harry Potter world and just live there, but I could never go back to my human life, I would take that opportunity in a heartbeat. I think about the Harry Potter series like almost every day, but I've seen all the movies, but I haven't read the books, and I can't even believe I'm saying that right now, but since I just started my reading journey last year, I never thought it was necessary to read the books. I thought the books might be boring because I've seen all the movies and I know what happens. But now that I've started my reading journey and I've read books that are also movies, I have realized that books are so much better than the movies because you get a lot more context than you do in a film, and also the dialogue between characters. So like, I don't know if I could even call myself a true Potterhead unless I read the books. And I just saw that they were all on Kindle Unlimited, So I'm going to do a reading series here very soon on my channel, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see that video. Okay, then we have Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night earlier this year, and I read the novella Six Scorched Roses by her, which was awesome. However, I can vaguely remember what happens in the two books. I can't remember the characters really. I'm kind of stressed to start the second book in that series, and I don't know why I waited so long to read Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I just got really distracted, I think, by Crescent City this year. But I do want to finish that series. I know that the third book in the Nyaxia series comes out in November, so I think right now would be the perfect time to start the second book. I'm hoping I can remember what happens. I'm a little discouraged to read Ashes and the Star-Cursed King after The Serpent and the Wings of Night because I heard it's not as good as The Serpent and the Wings of Night, so that kind of puts me off a little bit. But I feel like since I started a series, I have to see it through. That's just how I am, so that's not my fall TBR. And then with thriller, I really want to read Rock, Paper, Scissors. I have read like 10 pages of the book. I really need to finish it, but every time I start it, I'm like not in a good point to read the book. But I think it's going to be a really good thriller. I can't remember, so don't quote me on this, but this couple is trying to save their marriage, and they are, in the beginning of the story, they're in a snowstorm driving to this holiday. They're going on holiday to try and save their marriage, but the husband has a lot of work to do and wrote like a film, and I don't know, like, he just seems very unhappy that he's in this marriage. The wife purposely leaves his phone at home, so he thinks he forgot his phone, but really the wife hid it on him, and that intrigued me about the story. But also the husband has like a weird disease where he can't make out people's faces, or he can like only see outlines of the people he knows in his life. So that really intrigued me. Don't quote me on his disease. I can't really remember because it was so long ago when I read the first 10 pages of this book, but I can't wait to give this thriller a try. I've heard so much hype around it. And then the other thriller that I can't wait to read this fall is the Housemaid 3 book by Frida McFadden. I love the Housemaid series. I think it's such a good start to thriller. It's so easy to read and you just don't know what's gonna happen, and it just, I don't know, I read them in like a day because she writes thriller so well and it's so easy to understand what's going on. A lot of the times I think I know what's gonna happen and then I completely don't, so I'm just continuing the series because I think it's so good, and I thought book 2 in Housemaid was better than the first Housemaid, so I'm hoping like book 3 is even better. That's my fall TBR. Let's get into my fall book recommendations. Okay, first one is gonna be so obvious, but if you have not read the A Court of Rose and Thorns series, what are you doing? I absolutely love this series. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. A human girl named Farah lives in the woods with her two sisters, Nesta and Elaine, and she is tasked with basically providing for her family. She's the only one that will hunt for her family, and they live in poverty. The only way to survive one day is to shoot a ginormous wolf with her bow and arrow. Well, that wolf turned out to be Faye. And then another Fae shows up at his door, threatens to kill her, but instead of killing her, she makes a deal with him that she will return to him to the Fae land. That is all I'm going to say about A Court of Rose and Thorns, but take my word for it, it's so hyped up for a reason on TikTok. Next series I'm going to recommend is the Fourth Wing series. Okay, so in Fourth Wing, there are different quadrants that you go into in this society. So Violet Sorrengail is considered a very weak person. She has a disease that affects all of her limbs. She has been set out to join the Scribe quadrant. There's 4 quadrants in Fourth Wing. There's the Scribe quadrant, where you write down all of the history of this society. You have the Writer's quadrant, where you have the potential, if you make it through Basgiath War College, you have the potential to be bonded to one of the few dragons that are willing to bond. if you bond with a dragon, you're tasked with protecting this society. You have the healers quadrant, and I think there's like basically like a soldier's quadrant. I forget what they're called. Violet Sorrengail is set out to join the scribe quadrant because she's obviously too weak. Violet's mom is persistent on Violet joining the dragon riders quadrant, and there's a very, very small chance that she will survive this war college because of her disease. And basically the best of the best get a dragon. The dragons might not deem you worthy, and if they don't deem you worthy, then they light you on fire. That's like one of my favorite series of all time. I actually met the author Rebecca Yarros last year in Denver. She was on my flight back to Las Vegas, which was really cool. She was really nice, and the romance in the story is a chef's kiss. The dragons are amazing. I think the dragons are my favorite characters of all time. And then we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And the magic and the world of Powerless by Lauren Roberts is so easy to understand. So there was a plague in Ilya a long time ago, and after the plague granted these people powers. And the king looks down upon any people who didn't receive this power, and he kills off all the ordinaries. His son is the enforcer. His name is Kai Azer, and as the enforcer, his job is to find all the ordinaries and unalive them. So, that being said, one day, Kai Azer finds himself in a little bit of trouble, and Peyton Gray, who is an ordinary, saves his life. After Peyton saves the king's son's life, she is voted to be in the trials this year, which the trials are very dangerous. It's basically like the Hunger Games, and people try to win the trials to receive the king's favor. And well, she doesn't actually have a power, so that's very dangerous for her, but she has no other choice. There's a lot more that happens in the story, but I will say the end was crazy to me. I couldn't wait until the next one, which is Reckless. Reckless was so good. Lauren writes banter like no other. This series is considered young adult, so there's no spice. So if you don't like spice, this is perfect for you. I will say, like, I like spice, but you do not need it because of the banter between Kai and Peyton. It's so good, and I will recommend for sure. Okay, now I'm going to recommend one of my top favorite thrillers of all time, and that is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. We have two sisters, Claire and Lydia. Claire and Lydia don't talk to one another, but 20 years before that, their sister Julia vanished without a trace. It's a cold case. No one knows what happened to their sister Julia. And then unexpectedly one day, Claire's husband is murdered, and since he was murdered, all of these clues start unraveling about Julia's disappearance. It's a super dark book, so make sure you read the trigger warnings before you read this book, but I think the way that the writer portrayed the story and how this is a real occurrence that happens in everyday life was insane. Yeah, again, one of my favorite thrillers. I think everyone should read it, but again, read the trigger warnings because it is a very upsetting story. The next thriller I'm going to recommend to you, again, I said that I wanted to read Housemaid 3 by Frida McFadden. So I'm recommending to you guys that you guys read the Housemaid series. So the first book is centered around Millie, who's an ex-convict, and she just got out of jail, and she's having a hard time getting a job. So everyone is denying her employment because, again, she's an ex-convict, so kind of reasonable, until she finds a rich housewife, Nina, and Nina is willing to hire her on the spot to be a housemaid. Everything is great until Millie moves in with Nina's family, and there's a lot of fishiness going on. Nina's behavior changes and is very different from when Nina was hiring her, and the plot twist of this book is insane. Again, I think it's a super easy thriller to get into. It intrigued me right away when I first started reading this book, so if you want to dabble in thriller and you don't know where to start, I definitely recommend the Housemaid series. Maybe you don't like fantasy and maybe you don't like thriller. Well, I have a sci-fi fiction that I'm going to recommend to you guys this fall. That is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. So Dark Matter, it's been a really long time since I read this, and I think this synopsis is way better than what I can give you, so I'm just gonna read it. So Dark Matter is the story of Jason Desson, an intensely devoted family man with a lackluster career. One day he's abducted by a mysterious stranger, and every assumption he'd had about his life is yanked away. He finds himself in a disorienting world, both similar and different from his real life. I love this book. It was extremely fast paced for me. It's kind of a shorter book. I think it's like only like 300 pages or so. I loved it. I thought, you know, it's very intriguing. I would definitely recommend it to my boyfriend or my grandpa. I just feel like a lot of the books I recommend are for the female audience, but Dark Matter is definitely for both genders. It reminded me a lot of Black Mirror and Rick and Morty. And the reason why I say that is, you know, there's so many different versions of Rick and in Rick and Morty, and you know, Rick is a scientist and all of that, and this book literally reminds me of it. It's also a TV show, so I should watch the TV show because I have read the book and I think it would be interesting to watch the TV show. But if you're a huge reader, I think that this is a must read. I give it 5 stars. Let me know if you guys read any of my recommendations or if you've read any of my TBR, and let me know what you guys recommend me to read and your thoughts about any of the books that I mentioned. I'm trying to upload weekly again, so be sure to subscribe for weekly content, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!